What's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask or the veil and I give you the astrological forecast for the week of December 9th through the 15th of 2015. And make sure you download my December 2015 horoscope. This goes into the whole entire month, video, audio, and I make all these awesome movie clips to let you know what's happening through this month. Especially, you're going to want to see the next half of this energy. Make sure you get it at inclusiveastrology.com. Well, this is a week where I believe our hope, our optimism, our outlook in life is very, very important. Now, if you look at the astrology, we're going to have a lot of major shift points this week. Number one, whenever you get a new moon happening, it's the new seeding of a new energy. And truly, if you look at astrology, the monthly cycle is based off the new moon. That's where we even get the whole idea of a month. Our calendar system just kind of puts it into a weird fashion where it doesn't go along with the universe. It's on its own cycle. But if you look at the universal cycle, we're beginning a new energy. We're beginning a new month here. So this week truly is all about a lot of shedding. You know, this is a dark moon in Scorpio that we're coming into, that we're leaving into a new moon in Sagittarius. Very different energies, right? Scorpio is where we shed, and I think that they've been so much exposed. What we want, what we don't want. Remember, Venus has just come into all this energy in Scorpio. So there's been all this energy that's been unveiled to us. But now it's, where do we go? Remember, Saturn and Neptune still in a square, especially through 2016, it's going to be squaring, just so you know. So this whole kind of, where is this going? Is this the right direction? How am I going to concrete this? This kind of wary energy is around. But this is where we travel. We hope. We have to have optimism. We have to believe. This is a new moon happening in Sagittarius. And on this new moon, it is the exact time that Mars is going to oppose Uranus. And at the same time, Venus gonna make a trine to Neptune. So what does this all mean, this new moon? Well, a new moon to me in Sagittarius truly is all about seeding the new hope. And with Saturn in Sagittarius, which is very much squared by Neptune, this is a time where we're in the blind. You know, we're going off deep internal, gut energy. We've learned a lot through the last 3 years of Scorpio about having to listen to our gut, know what we want, know what we don't want. It's not a question of whether you want it or not. It's a question of how you're going to reach there. Where is it going to take you? Do you feel that this is the fire in your life that is going to carry you into exactly where your dreams, your hopes, your desires really go? I always describe this to people with basic astrology. Scorpio is the scorpion. It stings the sun and literally poisons the sun. That's why the sun in any Leo does horrible in Scorpio, because it falls. It's the last point where now we go into the lower part of the body, right? We go to the genitals, then we go to Sagittarius, the legs, and down, down, down. So here's the sun and here's Saturn as well, now at the bottom part of our life. And Sag is the only place in this bottom half of our body and in the bottom half of the zodiac that has fire. There's no other fire in the bottom. Fire starts in Aries in the head, then it starts into Heart, Leo, all in spring, summer months. The only time we ever get fire is in the fall, which is happening right now. Now, of course, if you're on the other side of the world, it's different. But Sag is the last bit of hope we have, because the whole winter or the last season has no fire. Zero fire. It goes Capricorn, Earth, Aquarius, water, or air. Everybody says water, air, and then Pisces, water. So this is our moment to get our last bit of fire left. This is when the fire is dwindling down, right? It's a mutable sign, Sagittarius. And you've got to carry this hope with you, because after you get stung by Scorpio, you realize too, back in the day during harvest season, oh my gosh, we have to survive now, right? Scorpio comes along, it's dark, the time changes, or it didn't then, but you realize it's dark now, everything's dying, right? The leaves are dying, everything's gone. And Sag is where you get all your hopes up to make it through the long, cold winter. And I think that this is us with Saturn here really having to find our hope. find our optimism, find that there are a million doors open. And with Mars opposing Uranus, especially Mars, which is in Libra, the sign that wants to keep relationships, you know, well, I don't want to say together, but this sign of relationships, which is Libra, and Mars here, the sign of independence and war, opposing Uranus, the sign of people, but in a sign like Aries, which is an independent, we're dealing with partnerships and independence in a battle, in a conflict, and needing to find hope and find a way to get along. Find a way to, you know, it's hard too with Venus and Scorpio, right? It's like, man, this is the truth. This is how I really feel. And I want to be diplomatic and I want to keep things together, but man, there's all these things that have come up. So this is conflict and finding different ways, opportunities to make conflict work in relationships, conflict in your own independence and freedom that you might want, conflict with other groups, conflict with just your internal battles in yourself of learning to need to be, I think, stronger and learning to, you know, use your ego in a way that doesn't, you know, burn every bridge, but still stands up for itself, which is not simple. And that's where Venus trine Neptune comes in, which if we just take it out of the signs, Venus-Neptune is this magical moment of, you know, there can be compassion, there can be hope if we do find it inside and if we do give it out, if we come from a place of compassion. I think it's so ironic that our masculine energy is in a big war with our nervous system, with, you know, wanting to be a wild, crazy hellion. That's Uranus. But here's Venus and Neptune, which Neptune's the higher octave of Venus in a very positive trine, our feminine energy. This is a great, great time for us really in the middle of a very masculine, right? We're in masculine sign of Sag. We got all this energy that's really intense to find our feminine, true, deeper compassion that we have to pull out and bring it in with this very hard time of finding hope and optimism. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. The other reason why is Mercury, as it squares the nodes before it leaves Capricorn, or before it leaves Sag and enters Capricorn, is looking at this weird spot. Our minds, our heads are trying to open up. And remember, Mercury in Sag, which it just was for the last 3 weeks, does not like to be there. That's the opposite place of where Mercury is. Mercury's in detriment here. This is not a good place for Mercury. And Mercury now coming into Capricorn makes things really serious and it makes things want to get done. And so here, when you add the whole Saturn in Sagittarius, a new moon in Sagittarius, Mercury that's now entered Capricorn, whoo, talk about having to find that optimism and make sure that you don't become Scrooge. You know, this is that moment. The good part of all this is, man, if you turn the energy around, this is where you can really find hope. There are many doors to open, and more importantly, you can get a lot of stuff done. It almost feels like people want to get stuff done, and you know, I feel like vacation or taking breaks isn't bringing the satisfaction that you'd think it would. I think because we've all kind of already had this very internal want to disconnect from reality and disconnect from life and disconnect from the world so much that it's like, you've already been on your vacation, you know, internally. And it's almost like we're trying to find a way to connect. We're trying to find a way to come into the excitement of life. You know, Sag is where we are boisterous and we're overwhelming humorous and we have this benefit of life. You know, but there's a lot of pressure in how to stay optimistic in our relationships, when we're revealing things, how to find that compassion, how to not get stuck in criticism. This is a North Node and Jupiter that are starting to get closer in conjunction, and this is the Sun that will square Jupiter as we exit the weekend. And the Sun square Jupiter is not an easy one when the Sun's in Sag and Jupiter's in Virgo. This is where Jupiter does not like to be. This is where the Sun's in its natural Jupiter sign, right? And so when it comes to seeding this new energy this month, it's all about keeping the hope alive. And even, let's say, if you move forward, right, because Mars is going to have to make a decision whether it likes it or not, on what it's doing and what path it's going to take here in relationships. And, you know, it showed a lot. It squared Pluto and went through this Pluto-Uranus square. after Mars makes this decision, here's the Sun square Jupiter. It's almost like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Or why am I still gonna go through with this? Or why am I gonna keep going through? I think the lesson you have to see is you need to be more open. You need to see farther down the road. You need to see wider. This is all about a week about seeing as wide as you can. It's not easy to see very wide during a time like this because it could become so ingrained that there's this and that. And you know, compassion is a very important part of all this. I forgot to mention this, but as we came into this week, the Sun squared Chiron. So when you have that as kind of the inertia coming into this week, it's like, oh my gosh, the wounds, the past, how are we ever going to get through this? It's like tregging through the mud and needing to be optimistic, needing to light that fire. And while having to get things done, there are things to get done. You just can't sit by the fire and do nothing. Mercury and Capricorn won't allow that, especially as Pluto is coming close by. Mercury, by the end of this week, will sextile Neptune and show you that even though maybe our blinders are off in perception and maybe we might have belief structures off, that we can mentally actually receive messages from the other side, from our dreams, from angels, from, you know, our higher source. So this is an excellent time to pray, to get very deep and learn for your mind to tune out your own belief issues, your own, you know, criticism that connects to a belief. And for actually thoughts and attitudes to recorrect it this week. This is all about recorrection. This is all about not, you know, overtaking a belief on a journey so far that you lose yourself either. You know, Sun square Jupiter can, you know, be people who way overdo it. Or, you know what, especially with Neptune now, Chiron and the South Node in Pisces, this is a time where it's like, watch out, Sun square Jupiter comes, and it's this want to over excess or be over, you know, boisterous about something, or, you know, pull out the heroin and just slam it in your arm, you know, to take a little break, and you overdo it and it's bad. I know I went there, but you know, there's this kind of wanting to escape extreme when if you realize that you get to the escape spot and you're bored, you're not feeling connected. This is a North Node in Virgo. It wants you to stay busy. It wants you to stay in the moment. No matter what happens, you have to keep moving in the moment. And more importantly than that, you need to stay positive in the moment, and you need to be open, and you need to see bigger instead of wanting to retract, retreat, and leave situations. This is a time where we embed in them. We see all the options in them. We remind ourselves to be more aware, more open, to learn that this is at the end of the day, this new moon in Sag, and with all this energy coming, it's about learning, it's about growing, it's about seeing bigger. It's about really starting to see where you lose yourself and where you're embedded in the reality. And so this is a time for you to truly 100% in your heart see how your beliefs are fucked up. We all have to. And of course, wherever that lands in your chart, that's a big aspect. So remember as well, because as we come to the end of this week, you know, it'll be next week when we're getting ready for Uranus to station. And Uranus is getting ready to come direct on Christmas Eve with a full moon in Cancer. And so I would say that this is a huge shift point. And then next week, there's this kind of in between. Sure, there's the Sun Moon square, and sure, there's some things that we're going to talk about next week, but really, it's this week that is a paradigm shift for you internally of having to see bigger and having to take these situations and relationships and find compassion and not go to war and find alternative aspects and kind of, you know, maybe be a little bit wiser, or more importantly, use your brain in a different way. You know, Mars opposed Neptune as well really messes with your nervous system and how you react to things. And this is about watching your reactions and making sure that you're not fueling them with fire of criticism and, more importantly, belief structures that need rebuilding and defining. This is the first time in 28 and a half years we're having a new moon in Sagittarius with Saturn there. So this is it. And you'll make it through. There's nothing negative about this week except everything that's going on inside, your perceptions of the world, and the clashes we have with others and people that we have to find deep compassion with, listen to our gut and listen to our guides, and learn to communicate professionally. Mercury, when it's in Capricorn, communicates. It gets the job done. When it fires you, it fires you. It doesn't fire you and say, F you, you're out of here. A true CEO sends you a letter, gives you a 2-week severance pay, and gets you out of the office and is able to eat lunch and doesn't cry. You know? Cancer in Mercury's opposite. I'm so sorry, I'm going to be leaving you, and oh my gosh, and I'm going to cry for a week that you're not here. Mercury in Capricorn's like, sorry, you got to go. I'll take care of that for you, and have a nice day. And then 2 minutes later, walking out, hey Joe, what are we getting for lunch? That's Mercury in Capricorn. And Mercury in Capricorn is going to figure things out for us and keep, I think, things stable and realistic when our beliefs are off and when our perceptions are off and we're losing ourselves and we're becoming too critical. We actually need to rely on our Capricorn energy, and this Pluto in Capricorn, and the moon will be here this week, to get what is the end goal and to not lose that. Sure, Jupiter gives us the hope to go, but Saturn gives us the ability to climb the mountain. And are you ready to climb, or are you still stuck at the bottom of the hill, fucking around with your head and your perceptions and your criticism instead of just getting on the trail and going towards where you need to go and not letting those beliefs mess it up? Thank you so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it. If you want to give me on my app, give me on Apple and Android at those stores, and you can get my app, my daily horoscopes every day, tarot, and my notifications to your phone. And if you want to get a one-on-one reading, you can get that at inclusiveastrology.com. Also, we're doing a spiritual dance music, my show where I do it live. I'm sure you guys have been seeing it on YouTube. That show is going to be live on Thursday. I haven't determined the time yet. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where I'm going to put up that time probably in the next day or so or whatever. So I'd love to see you live for that. I do that on YouTube and Ustream. And I'd love to see you live in the chat. It's a way to talk to me live and hang out while I jam it out. We pull cards, we talk about the astrology, and we send it all out in an awesome energy force. Thank you so much for all the support, and I will see you on your next Uncut.